What's going on, everybody? I am Winston A. Marshall, aka the Swaggy Blerd, and this is the Blerd Breakdown, the pop culture show for when you need to know. See, what had happened was, now, if this is your first time here, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, throw a thumbs up on this video, and get in the comments, man, get in the chat. I appreciate both. Obviously, if you're watching this live, thank you so much for doing so. Obviously, the super chats are open. We got that goal to get to 10 today. If we hit that before the show is over, I will share with you in the next episode, just because I have a screening to get to tonight. I will share with you the next episode some details about my newest film project. I'm actually pretty excited about it. So yeah, let me know. Throw in those super chats. Appreciate the support. You can also go to streamlabs.com/theswaggyblerd/tip. Streamlabs.com/theswaggyblerd/tip. That should be in the description. That is the best way to support the show, just because Streamlabs takes a little bit less than super chats, but no pressure one way or the other. Again, we will get to your questions at the end. If I end up running into a time crunch, which is why I'm going to jump into this right away, then what we will do is we'll make sure, again, we have a little bit of a longer show next week, and I will make sure to answer any questions I didn't get to today. But with that, let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it, man, and these stories. And honestly, this first one's kind of a doozy, all right? So for those of you that didn't know, former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez was charged with a felony after an assault that led him to getting stabbed. Now, this is ESPN reporting on this incident. A lot of you probably heard about this over the weekend, but let's get some details out there. Ex-quarterback Mark Sanchez is now facing a felony charge for the altercation. Former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez is now facing a felony battery charge for what authorities said Monday was a fight over a parking dispute, in addition to the misdemeanor charges that the Fox Sports analyst was already facing from the weekend incident in Indianapolis. Marion County prosecutor Ryan Mears announced the new charge of battery involving serious bodily injury, which carries a potential sentence for 1 to 6 years in prison. During a news conference with Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department Chief Chris Bailey, Mears said the investigation is ongoing and that additional charges are possible. We're literally talking about people fighting over a parking space and/or a dispute about where people are parking, and it resulted in someone receiving just incredibly significant injuries, the prosecutors told reporters. A police affidavit alleges that the 38-year-old Sanchez, smelling of alcohol, accosted a 69-year-old truck driver who backed into a hotel's loading docks in downtown Indianapolis, leading to a confrontation early Saturday outside the vehicle that prompted the driver to pull out a knife to defend himself. Now, the former New York Jets quarterback was pepper sprayed and stabbed multiple times during the altercation, including, according to court records filed on Sunday. It became clear after investigators learned more about the truck driver's medical condition that the more serious charge was warranted, Mears said. This was a situation that did not need to occur, the prosecutor reiterated. The allegations involving a 38-year-old man becoming involved in an altercation with a 69-year-old man who sustained significant and very severe injuries as a result of that altercation. Sanchez was hospitalized with stab wounds to his upper right torso, the initial affidavit signed by a police detective said. The truck driver, identified as PT, had a cut on his left cheek, it said. Authorities have not said whether the truck driver might also face charges, but Mears noted that Indiana has some of the most robust self-defense laws in the nation. The truck driver has filed a lawsuit against Sanchez and the Fox Corporation for compensatory and punitive damages, court costs, and any other relief to be determined in a jury trial. The man says in the suit that he had sustained severe permanent disfigurement, loss of function, other physical injuries, emotional distress, and other damages due to Sanchez's alleged actions. He says Fox should have known about Sanchez's unfitness as an employee, propensity for drinking and or harmful conduct, and he says it failed to supervise him in a capacity as an employee. Sanchez had been scheduled for a hearing Tuesday on the original misdemeanor charges, but that was rescheduled for November 4th. Sanchez remained hospitalized and was listed in stable condition Monday morning. This has been a deeply distressing time for everyone involved. Mark and our family are incredibly grateful for the concern, love, and support we've received over the past few days, Nick Sanchez, Mark Sanchez's brother, said in a statement on behalf of the family. Mark remains under medical care for serious injuries he sustained and is focused on his recovery as the legal process continues. We would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to the first responders and medical staff. The Prosecutor said police are still gathering information with several outstanding search warrants. He also said surveillance video captured the incident from multiple angles. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care where you live, the police chief said. If you come into our city, commit violence, we will use all the tools at our disposal to hold you accountable. Mark Sanchez was in Indianapolis as part of the broadcast crew of the network's coverage for Sunday's game between the Vegas Raiders and the Indianapolis Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium. Fox Sports play-by-play announcer Chris Myers acknowledged Sanchez's absence Sunday before introducing Sanchez's replacement, Brady Quinn. Myers said he wanted to send thoughts and prayers to Sanchez and everyone involved. Sanchez played in the NFL for 8 seasons, was selected 5th by the Jets in 2009 out of USC, helped the Jets advance to back-to-back AFC Championship games in those 2 seasons. He also played for the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Commanders, the last team he appeared for in the 2018 regular season. He's been on ABC and ESPN for 2 years before joining Fox Sports as a game analyst. Okay. Oh boy, there's a lot going on here. So first off, I am glad that nobody was killed. When I first heard about this story this weekend, I heard that Mark Sanchez was stabbed in Indianapolis and was in critical condition. Hadn't heard anything out there about any altercation other than it being stabbed. And obviously, this is considering there have been other reports of violence and stuff happening in Indianapolis from time to time. There was just like, oh man, I can't believe he got. Let alone you had somebody getting robbed when they were out in Dublin when the NFL was out there a little while ago. So just in general, just the fear of like safety for Mark Sanchez. That was what I first heard. Now, having heard more about this whole situation, man, I mean, it's a bad look. It sounds like Mark got in this dude's face, approached his truck, whatever he was, drunk as shit, and picked this fight and got pepper sprayed and apparently was like bath salts resistant, where he's like, that don't affect me, and like kept going, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? I've seen the video. I don't want to play because I don't want to get demonetized, of him walking around with the stab wound, bleeding profusely as he's walking down the street, which was crazy in and of itself. I think the thing that's probably a little ridiculous against Mark is the idea. It's not even against Mark. It's the fact that this dude is trying to sue Fox. I think that feels like a stretch unless he was under the capacity of Fox, or if he was at a Fox function beforehand and that's where he got drunk. This idea of like, they should have known he was a problem child, that's kind of wild, bro. Like unless he literally came from a Fox event, to put that on his employer, that seems like a cash grab, and that's trash. And if that's the case, take your money from Mark. You know what I'm saying? He's the one that did that. So sue him to high hell for assaulting you and all that, and that's fine. But that, to me, is the only thing that feels very shady on the end of the other person, and I guarantee you that's probably his lawyer talking in his ear to do all that. But this is really gross for Mark Sanchez, man. What I don't understand, and I get it, I know alcohol and substances affect people differently. I've never had, while I've been wasted, this notion that I need to whoop somebody's ass. You know what I'm saying? That like you parked at a parking spot and now I'm about to throw down. I've never been that. I've been very drunk. Like, let me not pass judgment. And like I said, I understand this shit hits people differently. But I don't understand personally when things escalate to that level. I also don't understand per se, and Lord knows where he was beforehand. If I am working the next day, but specifically if I'm working while traveling, if I'm at home, have there been times that I've been at someone's birthday party, maybe a little too late, and knew I had to show up at work later? Sure. But if I had to be on set, if I had to be on camera, all that kind of stuff, let alone if I'm traveling for work, I kind of tone that shit down because you're not at your house. There are too many factors. So like, again, I don't know if this is something about Mark Sanchez, maybe, has a substance issue problem. We don't know what was going on. None of that is there, but this just feels like a horrible look one way or the other. And I think what sucks is that it used to be kind of like a joke that like Mark Sanchez was known for like the butt fumble, one of the most famous plays in NFL history of just like this idea of essentially, you sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. That's that ADHD working against me, bro. Give me a second. It'll come back one way or the other. But I just say all that to say that I am, the butt fumble. The butt fumble, for those that didn't know, at one point, Mark Sanchez was hiked the ball, and then he tried to kind of rush, and he ran directly into the ass of his center, and then ended up fumbling the ball. And the other team, I don't know if they ended up scoring a touchdown off of it or they just got possession, but either way, it was one of the most embarrassing plays in history. And he, at this point, had been able to take it in stride where it became like a joke. People were kind of laughing about it, but this is not what you now want to be remembered for. After all the stuff that you've done, and they say you don't want to necessarily judge somebody for the worst day of their life, but like it's one of those situations where it's like, this is going to overshadow, especially depending on how this plays out, because you're not a star player anymore. It's going to overshadow any of the goodwill you got when you were playing at SC and stuff like that. It's going to overshadow any of the goodwill you had kind of in the NFL or what you've done as an analyst. Odds are, especially with Fox being dragged into this suit, he will probably lose his job here. And that is really sad. But again, look, fuck around and find out. Look, if you're gonna get pissy drunk and put yourself in those situations, that's not great, man. So maybe this is, I don't know if this is something that happens all the time with him or if this was just a really bad day, but hopefully this will be just kind of a wake-up call to him and to anybody kind of in those situations to kind of prevent that from happening again. But we will stay tuned and see what happens. You let me know what you think of the whole situation, man, of the story. If you have been following this, what you think about the whole scenario and how you think it's going to play out. Do you think I'm off base here? I genuinely think this guy suing Fox is ridiculous because to say, oh, you're responsible for if he was on the clock, fine. It doesn't sound like he was on the clock at the time. So you let me know what you think in the comments. And let's pop over to our next story, which kind of shocked me, almost more so than this one, which is wild. Taylor Swift's Showgirl rocked the box office with a $33 million opening and ended up beating out Dwayne Johnson's Smashing Machine for his career worth $6 million. This is the Hollywood Reporter covering this. The Swifties have struck again. Taylor Swift's special Life of a Showgirl album release event towered over the competition at the domestic box office, including films featuring two of the world's biggest stars, Dwayne Johnson and Leonardo DiCaprio, with an estimated weekend bounty of $33 million. Overseas, it earned a better-than-expected $13 million for a global haul of $46 million. That's a record-breaking number of what's being described as a cinematic experience that's playing for only 3 days in cinemas. In other words, it's neither a concert pick nor a documentary, but rather a promotional event timed to a release of her new album. Shout out Kingsport Cal for the super chat. We'll get to it in just a minute. Thank you so much, my brother. That's a record-breaking number for what's described as a cinematic experience that's playing for only 3 days in cinemas. In other words, it's neither a concert pick nor a documentary, but rather a promotional event timed to the release of her new album, The Life of a Showgirl, which dropped Friday and is already setting sales records. The 89-minute big screen event is a mix of music videos, behind-the-scenes footage, and a series of lyric videos, 4 tracks on her new album. And it's bookended by the world premiere of her music video for Showgirl single, The Fate of Ophelia, which she directed. Taylor Swift, the official release party of A Showgirl, was graced with a coveted A+ cinema score, just as her history-making concert film Eras Tour was, and easily came in #1 thanks to her diehard fans. Johnson wasn't so lucky. His new wrestling drama, which it's more of an MMA drama, his new MMA drama, The Smashing Machine, all but bombed in opening to an estimated $6 million from 3,345 theaters. The worst wide start of his career, despite his performance being praised as potentially Oscar-worthy and following a splashy premiere at the Venice Film Festival. Heading into the weekend, tracking showed the A24 Awards contender opening at $12 million to $14 million, but it stalled after getting slapped with a B- cinema score and so-so exit polls. Except for swooping in and booking premier large-format screens A24 had counted on, it would be difficult for Johnson's team to blame Showgirl, considering the two offerings went after entirely different audiences. Nearly 90% of Showgirl ticket buyers were female, while Smashing Machine skewed heavily male, 70% plus. Swift went to great lengths to keep Showgirl's project top secret until the 11th hour. They almost succeeded, but not quite, much to the annoyance of other distributors who don't like last minute surprises. She announced the October 3rd to 5th special event on September 19th in a well-orchestrated social media post informing fans that advance tickets would go on sale that day at 12:12 local time for $12. In keeping with Swift's longtime relationship with Numbers, Showgirl is her 12th studio album. However, consumers can expect to pay notably more than $12 for premiere large format screenings, which contributed 28% of the opening gross. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's another moment here that I wanted to bring up. So Paul Thomas Anderson's critically acclaimed awards contender, One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, fell to second place in its sophomore outing as it crossed the $100 million mark globally. The Warner Brothers film declined an estimated 49% to $11.1 million in North America for a 10-day domestic tally of 42.8. Overseas, where it opened in select markets ahead of its domestic debut, One Battle After Another added an additional $21.7 million for a foreign tally of 58.9 and a 101.7 million globally. The movie is being closely scrutinized because of the $135 million net production budget, which is by far the most money Anderson has ever been given. Okay, that's pretty much it. So let's talk about it, man. I think the one thing that this shows above all else is just Taylor Swift wields an insane amount of power. Now I think that this article nailed it. These audiences are not much of a crossover. So this isn't like Superman and Fantastic Four dropping on the same day, potentially cannibalizing each other. You know, that doesn't really add up one way or the other. But I do think the thing that's interesting about this is the idea that there's certain things nowadays that are really providing a draw at all, like monetarily. There's been a lot of criticism left, right, and center about this new album. Fans that love it, fans that hate it, haters that hate it, haters that are giving props. The discourse has been absolutely nuts, and that's not necessarily what I'm talking about here. But the one thing that is true is that her brand remains insanely strong as far as being able to make this happen. Because like I asked, most of you know that my lady is a pretty diehard Swiftie, her and her girls. And they went to this movie. So I asked specifically, like, I know they laid it out, but just so you kind of understand, I asked what this was about. And they were like, oh, behind the scenes and explanations about the album, world premiere of her music video. But then the rest of the songs, it wasn't other music videos. It was essentially lyric videos that you see on YouTube that people put out before they do music videos, or if they don't at all. And so you couldn't use A-list for this. So you paid out of pocket to go and see this, which is crazy to me to go. But the point of it that I learned from them and I get is that at that point, for a lot of Swifties on top of that, being a Swiftie is a big community thing. And so the idea of going to see this was cool, but it was to go and see it with other folks that are really into Taylor like that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, look, the woman is a billionaire for a reason. Whether it's her own direct marketing genius or having the team around her to make her a marketing genius, a brand genius, that is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to give her props for that, for putting this out. I mean, the only beef that I had with this whole thing, y'all know, obviously I love my AMC A-list, bro. Apparently, ever since those tickets went on sale, the AMC app broke and you could not put your tickets in the Apple Wallet at all. I know that sounds like a minor gripe, and it really is, and I can get over myself. But like, I guess because they were buying so much, they crashed the AMC website, and they just didn't get around to fixing that. Someone told me that they fixed it today. Only reason I care is that for me, that is how I actively collect ticket stubs now. So I just hated that I couldn't do that with these last few movies that I saw the last couple of weeks. But either way, good for her. And regarding the Smashing Machine, There's nothing about the film and how it was marketed that I believe that it was going to do gangbusters at the box office. It's sad that it didn't hit the 12 to 14 they were eyeing. Um, but I hope that this doesn't screw over The Rock with his Oscar campaign here. Um, I genuinely think that his performance was Oscar worthy, at least nom worthy. Um, my feelings are still out there about who I feel deserves to actually win, but I do think that the nom is there so far. Um, so I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't already. Go see the Smashing Machine for sure. But I said in my out of the theater reaction, I thought that he and Emily Blunt were great. I think that Benny Safdie does a really good job of personal relationships and having conversations feel very real. But I don't personally like his style of directing. It tends to be very chaotic, and it's not to the extreme of Uncut Gems, but a lot of that chaos that tends to stem from like a lot of sounds and a lot of like visuals and stuff that are happening. The visuals aren't as high as Uncut Gems, but the sounds are there at times, and it can be a little overwhelming, and it kind of took me out of it, and it just didn't flow the way that I necessarily wanted to. But I think that the story was compelling, and I genuinely think The Rock did a great job, and so did Emily Blunt. She was nuts, man. So that's my 2 cents, on all of that. I'm not surprised that one battle, maybe did a little less on the second weekend, but it did only drop 40 something percent. And considering like you're normally looking at a 50 to 60 drop, that's still pretty good. A lot of Oscar performances and noms in that movie too. I highly recommend checking that one out. But yeah, it is what it is, man. Swift is the queen, the king, the emperor. I don't know. She run the shit. Tell me what you think, man, in the comments. If you went and saw this Taylor Swift release album screening, let me know. And if you've seen the Smashing Machine or One Battle After Another and you're shocked by any of this, just let me know what you're thinking in the comments, man. And let's pop over to this next story. All right. Now, there is a rumor that a comic-accurate Doctor Doom detail will appear in Avengers Doomsday. This is comic book movie reporting, Josh Wilding. At 2024's San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel Studios confirmed it would be ditching Kang the Conqueror as the multiversal saga's big bad and renamed Avengers The Kang Dynasty to Avengers Doomsday. With that, Robert Downey Jr. unmasked himself as Doom, having spent all this time as Iron Man over the last decade. Among the biggest concern is that Doom would just be an evil Tony variant, robbing the iconic villain of his history and that variant heritage. While it remains to be seen whether or not there will be time to delve into Doom's past in the next Avenger films, the Fantastic Four First Steps post-credit scene seemed to indicate that the villain might use Franklin Richards' immense mutant powers to heal his face. That would be one way to get Downey into all the trailers sans mask, but we have a positive update today from Scooper My Time to Shine. Hello. Taken to X, they claimed Dr. Doom will have a scarred face in Doomsday, at least at the start of it. It's worth noting that in the comics, Doom's face remains scarred even when he becomes God Emperor Doom on Battleworld. The villain's face was only healed when Mr. Fantastic restored the multiverse, and if that's the plan in the MCU, it shouldn't happen until the end of Avengers Secret Wars. Still, it's hard to believe Disney will want to market these movies without Downey somehow being front and center. Over the summer, the Fantastic Four First Steps director, Matt Shankman, talked about Reed leading the Avengers. That's not important. That's not important. It's mainly the Doomsday show. Okay, here we go. So, good. There are a few things that I think you can't get rid of. I don't care who your big star that you want to market is one way or the other. If the way they want to do it, as they've tricked us in the past, like, for Infinity War, you had Hulk looking like he was charging in the final battle, but in actuality, it was Bruce in the Hulkbuster armor. And they just kind of replace those images out, or the amount of Infinity Stones on the gauntlet in those trailers and whatnot, and actually all that. That's fine. I would rather you lie to me. Do not take this away, because a lot of Doom's like scarred face and all that ties into his psyche and his ego and this broken like visage that he has one way or the other, and how the way every little detail about Doom. I know this sounds silly. is pretty damn important because it speaks to who the character is and where the villain, like the villainy comes in and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's very important that they get a lot of that right. Like I said, my biggest concern, I think it's fine that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doom. I think it would make more sense if Doom actually looked different, if he didn't look like Tony Stark, didn't look like traditional Robert Downey Jr., if maybe he looked like somebody else. And then ultimately, when you get to the point of fixing his face or things like that, or he uses some sort of tech to confuse people on the main Earth timeline, that he takes the visage of Tony Stark to get away with the shit he wants to get away with. I think that that's a more powerful choice that and maybe he keeps the face after the fact. If you think like The Flash, the CW show, how that's what they essentially did with Zoom, with Professor Zoom, is that he took on the face of Barry's mentor and then just kept that face. That was just who he was going forward, was the face of his mentor and shit like that. I think that would be a stronger choice to let Doom remain the character that he is. But that's my 2 cents. You know what I'm saying? If you think I'm being a little nitpicky, if I'm being a little too much, you let me know what you think in those comments, man. And other than that, let's keep it pushing to the next story, which is kind of pissed me off a little bit, if I'm going to be real with you. Apparently, in Doctor Strange 2, Elizabeth Olsen learned of the Scarlet Witch's villainous turn 3 weeks before shooting. This is Josh Wilding reporting for Comic Book Movie. Doctor Strange of the Multiverse of Madness is another MCU movie that underwent constant changes during production. Neither director Sam Raimi nor writer Michael Waldron had watched WandaVision when work on the sequel began, leading to a take on the Scarlet Witch that disappointed many fans, myself included. Last time we saw Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda Maximoff, she had taken a villainous turn but made a somewhat heroic sacrifice when she was crushed beneath Mount Wundagore. The expectation is that she'll return in Avengers Doomsday, and rumors continue to swirl about what exactly she'll get up to. In the meantime, the Doctor Strange sequel continues to divide opinions. While Olsen isn't against where the Scarlet Witch's story went in 2022, she recently revealed that the character's turn to the dark side came as a surprise to her mere weeks before shooting started. I thought I was in an ensemble cast, and I thought I was one of the good guys, said the Avengers Endgame star at a recent LA Comic-Con appearance. And then 3 weeks before I was sent to London, they said, "You're our lead villain," and I had no clue. And I finished filming WandaVision, I was like, it would have been helpful to know that, just so I could have pulled the thread through a little bit, she explained. But I think that the story told itself, and I was kind of able... I was able to kind of massage things in Doctor Strange to hopefully tell a different story for her. The right hand not knowing what the left is doing has been a major issue in the multiversal saga, with several projects failing to link up in a way that makes any sense. That's changed in the past couple of years, in no small part because Marvel Studios has shifted focus back to quality over quantity. Back in March, Olsen shared thoughts on where Wanda's story could go next. When I think about my dream vision of Wanda, it's like 50 years later, and I have white hair, such a big, massive white wig, and gnarly face of wrinkles, doing like a Tracy Ullman thing. And I am just like a creature that they find, and that's how I imagine Wanda's next journey. It's something I've quite literally pitched because it would be so fun to get to do that. I mean, I guess in one of the comics, she ages quite quickly, and I think those are images that are implanted in my brain next because I haven't done it. Most likely, the Scarlet Witch will return in Doomsday, though the expectation is that she'll have a much larger role in Secret Wars, whether as Dr. Doom's bride, a variant of the X-Men universe, or even a multiversal McGriffin. Remains to be seen. All right. So here's my beef here. My issue is with the fact that what was talked about, the left hand not talking to the right. I think why I didn't really like the Multiverse of Madness spawned from two different things. I think the first being that the admission from the writer and the director that they had not seen WandaVision at all, hadn't read any of the scripts, none of that, and just kind of made this story. It felt disjointed to me, and I really did not like that. It felt also that her turn was a little too quick, let alone there was almost like a failing of logic by not re-examining, kind of like truly re-examining about what the Darkhold had been doing to her. We just kind of got some lines about it. it just seemed like such a quick turn, and the easy solution is to be like, bro, you got all this magical power. Just teach America to help you, or you can find a universe where the kids don't have a mama. Like, there's a number of different ways that it could have been handled, and I think by Raimi and Waldron not paying attention to WandaVision at all, like she said, she did the best she could to kind of massage it over. It just wasn't a strong through line. And I think that ends up opening bigger holes in what could have potentially been done, let alone the quick teasing of like the Illuminati getting murked super fast or whatever else. Like, I personally didn't love that it felt like the styling went back to the early 2000s. There was just a lot with that movie that I really just didn't enjoy. Now, I like it a little bit better than when I initially saw it and was hating pretty heavy, but overall I was not a fan of that movie and how that played out. And this is disappointing to hear, but I am not surprised. Truthfully, how this played out, I am not surprised that this is what was going on behind the scenes, man. But all that being said, let me know what you think, man. Are you shocked at all that this is what was happening? Or you're like, bro, this feels like a no news type of situation. We know. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what you think in the comments, and let's go to our last set of stories. It's a sports update. We got 3 stories to cover really quickly. We've got the Aces taking a 2-0 lead in the WNBA Finals. LeBron has announced the second decision, and I've got a who's better. Bo Nix and the Broncos, or May and the Patriots, as far as them both beating undefeated teams this past weekend. So let's start with the Aces. They played game 2 on Sunday, beating the Phoenix Mercury 91-78. You had a crazy performance from Asia Wilson and Jackie Young, who combined for 60 points. I think that was like the second or third highest duo scoring in an NBA Finals, which is WNBA Finals, which is pretty crazy. They really just kind of put like foot on neck on the Mercury and kind of handle business there one way or the other. I know that Satu Sabli is dealing with like an ankle injury, and there was an unfortunate moment where Asia kind of tripped and completely by accident, kind of stepped on the ankle. And so Sabli was still out there performing, but looked like she was slowed down a little bit. I personally am hoping that the Aces go in here and get this 4th chip, especially because I think Asia Wilson is more than on the way to become the GOAT. She is looking more and more like a Michael Jordan type figure of what, the accolades, the titles, the MVPs, the scoring records, all that kind of stuff, her shoe, like everything. Asia is the one, bro. And so I'm kind of pulling for them to pull this off, since both my Sparks and my Wings are not in this one. And I named my damn dog after Asia Wilson. So clearly I'm a little bit biased about who I want to see win this. But it'll be interesting because obviously the Aces were the higher seed, so they have home court advantage. It is now bumping over to Phoenix, which let me find out. I don't remember exactly when the next game is. It is on Wednesday. This coming Wednesday, they will be in Phoenix, and we will see if the Mercury can bounce back and push this to even a game 5, let alone, just not getting swept and stuff like that. Now, in regards to LeBron, let's talk about LeBron, man, because he made this announcement. Let me make sure you can hear this audio real quick. Here, it's not really much audio, but he put this tweet out: the decision of all decisions, October 7th, 12 p.m. Eastern. And it looks like he's got like, a saluting thing and like a crown, and then the second decision is the name of it, and it's just him. For y'all that remember the decision, him walking up to go and chat with somebody, same kind of setup. Now, here's the thing that we got to talk about. So LeBron, shout out Kyle Wilson. I'm going to thank you so much for that super chat. We'll talk about it in a minute. Now, LeBron, for those that don't remember the decision, it was a while ago. LeBron was playing in Cleveland. It was free agency time, and then he did a program called the Decision, where he essentially went up and then said, "I'm going to be taking my talents to South Beach," pissing off Cleveland fans all over the world, burning jerseys, all that kind of stuff. And then the Heatles, as God, I think Skip Bayless coined that term. Were down there, got they ass whooped their first year by my Dallas Mavericks with Dirk Nowitzki leading our team to our first championship ever. But the Heat went on to be, a big deal. They won, I think 2 chips. They won 2 chips down there, went to 3 finals. And then eventually he left and went back to Cleveland, eventually won that chip for Cleveland, and then eventually went to L.A. for his last team is what he said, and won a chip for them during the pandemic. And now is kind of, brought his son to the team. Luke has now been traded over there. So part of the conversation has been, okay, is homie retiring? Is he making an announcement that this will be his final season, in which case he goes on a farewell tour? And that has definitely been a large level of what people are thinking is happening. Because, like, for example, the final game of the season against the Utah Jazz were selling for like $82 for like nosebleeds, are now going for like $500 in nosebleed sections. Because people think, oh my God, he's done. He's calling it a career after this season or something like that. Because he wouldn't call it now with the season starting in like 2 weeks. He would let people know that this is his last season. But the other thing that came out is that there's apparently something going on with DraftKings, and there is talk of supposedly LeBron actually doing this. So, or not just DraftKings, I'm sorry. Amazon Prime Day is tomorrow. So if y'all remember, like a year or two ago, Snoop was like, "That's it, I'm quitting smoke," and people were like, "Wait, what?" And it turned out that like Snoop was actually just pushing like grills, like smokeless grills. This is what a lot of people are like. It feels like this is an Amazon Prime Day announcement, because he also has a big deal with Amazon Prime and shit like that. It's kind of wild to me. If that's the case, I'm going to be real pissed. I think that that's kind of a shitty thing to do, and I don't think that that's great marketing. If anything, that makes me want to go, yo, fuck Prime Day. Like, let's call spade a spade, man. So let me know what you're thinking on that and where you think that whole thing is going. But let's talk about this last quick story, man, and that is of the 2 undefeated teams in the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. Both lost yesterday morning, and then last night. The Broncos beat the Philadelphia Eagles 21-17. You had Bo Nix with, let me see if I can get that full box score for you. There we go. Bo Nix, 24-39 for 242 and a touchdown, a 63.9 passer rating. Or QBR, excuse me. You had J.K. Dobbins with 79 yards and a touchdown, man. And that Broncos defense just got busy, man. Obviously, last week, A.J. Brown was silently kind of making comment about not getting targets and not getting balls thrown to him. The Eagles completely switched up their game plan. Jalen Hurts threw 38 times with 23 completions. Had 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, a QBR of 54.9. He got sacked 6 times, losing 23 yards. Saquon Barkley only ran the ball 6 times for 30 yards. He did have 3 catches with 58 yards and a touchdown, so Saquon still had a pretty decent day. Shout out to Kyle Wilson again for the super chat. Again, we'll get to that in a minute. But overall, the team did not look very good. The Eagles did hold the lead for a minute. They were up, 17-3 until the fourth quarter, and that's when the Broncos launched a full attack back out. But this is kind of what I was saying about the Eagles without being a hater. Everybody assumes just because I'm a Cowboys fan I was being a hater. This is a team that is the defending champs, and it reminds me of, again, what the Eagles did a couple years ago, where they were winning ugly, And then what the Chiefs did like a year or two ago, where they were also winning ugly, and specifically last year they were winning ugly enough to get to the Super Bowl, sure. But then when it was time to face a team that was ready, they got whooped. This wasn't a whooping, but the Broncos really controlled this game throughout, man. Now, this isn't the only game where some stuff like that went down. Again, the New England Patriots beat their division rivals, the Buffalo Bills, who were also undefeated and now sit at 4-1. The Patriots won 23-20, led behind Drake May and Stephon Diggs, who clearly had a personal vendetta when he went out there. Drake May, 22-30, 273 yards, didn't throw any touchdowns. Got sacked 4 times for only 6 yards, but had a QBR of 64.1. Stephon Diggs had 10 receptions for 146 yards, man. And then you kind of did have some drama with the various running backs. Ramondre Stevenson ended up having a pretty bad fumble that got him benched for a little bit. You also had Antonio Gibson at one point, gnarly injury during a kickoff return. His knee is out. I think he's done for the year. And Trayvon Henderson was able to recover that. But, they got to figure some stuff out in their room. But Drake May was cool, calm, and collected, made some crazy plays. There was one clutch play where he's stiff-arming the hell out of somebody, throws him to the ground finally, and gets a deep ball and a crazy catch to Stephon Diggs, which looked like the things of, when Eli would do that to Brady in the Super Bowl. It looked like Drake May was doing that to Josh Allen and the Bills in this matchup, man. And Josh didn't do too bad. Obviously, he still had 22 of 31, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception at 50.3 quarterback rating. But James Cook really couldn't get out there. He only had 49 yards on 15 carries. And while you had Dalton Kincaid with a 108-yard game, a lot of these receivers just weren't doing what they needed to do, man. And that defense kind of let the Patriots do what they needed to do the whole time. And so it's just really interesting to me, because now the question becomes, with these 2 young quarterbacks in Bo Nix and Drake May, and with these teams, I was talking to a homie, which do I think is bound for more success? And here's what I think. I think that the Broncos, because I trust their overall weapons and their defense and Sean Payton more, I think that they are more poised to do more damage this year in particular. I think that they will do a surprising, especially because the AFC has been all over the place, I think they might end up doing a surprising AFC championship game run, similar to what Washington did. People will count them out. You'll expect some of the better teams, like, say, the Bills or the Chiefs or the Colts right now who are rolling. One of those teams is going to get surprise knocked off by the Broncos. And I think the Broncos will make the AFC championship game, but they'll ultimately lose to whoever the other dog in that game is. But currently, I actually have more faith in the quarterback play of Drake May and what he will ultimately become, which I don't love because I don't love the Patriots. I've been very open about that shit. It's a new day, so I feel a little different. You don't have Brady, you don't have Belichick, so I'm not quite as like, but I think Drake May genuinely looked hella good. Bo Nix is doing all of this shit, but Drake May was out here balling, man. And I think especially with the Stephon Diggs, who got over here with Cardi B, girlfriend Cardi B pregnant, got to have a child coming out there. He's living his best life. He's out here doing real leadership. This is different than the Steve Harvey Celebrity Family Feud, being asked, finish the sentence, leave it, and Stephon Diggs talking about in. Different dude now, all right? This is a different guy, and I think with that tag team and what's going on, that this will help Drake May develop, and I think the Patriots are going to be a problem down the line. So those are my thoughts on all the sports stuff. Let me know what you think. Bo Nix, Drake May, Aces, Mercury, LeBron's second decision. I'm going to have to talk about the second decision with Roka tomorrow and spill the tequila. But let me know what you think in the comments, and let's go and read these Streamlabs and Super Chats, man. All right, so we've got 3 Super Chats that came in. Thank you so much, everybody. Kingsport Cal, bro. Give me 30 seconds to give you the name of this song. Jay put me onto it. It's kind of ridiculous. What is the name of this song? It's not Outside. I think it's called Outside. Yeah. And it's pretty graphic, bro. Like, let me just be real with you. But you should go listen to it. It's a good song. But I was just like, all right, let's get to it. Kingsport Cal, thank you so much for the super chat. Comes in and said, I watched all 6 episodes of The Comic Shot. I loved it. Cheesy but funny. I need more episodes. Are they going to happen? Thank you so much for supporting the show. I got to make sure Cheyenne knows about that, man. And I'm going to actually do a full watch-along reaction to the whole thing, so definitely check all that shit out here on the channel, man. The plan is for them to do another season. Right now, obviously, the first season just ended. It ended, obviously, on a cliffhanger, so we got to see what more is happening, but I remain so proud of Cheyenne. A friend of mine who I remember when she got to LA, I remember all the stuff that she's done here and there and whatnot, and her star continued to just rise, man, and then her being like, F it, I'm just going to do it myself. Like, she just got a Variety article about her and her show. The fact that they raised, I want to say like $150K. I think the goal was like 80 or something, maybe 50, whatever it was, and they ended up raising like $150K to do the show, and was able to do all the stuff that they were able to do with it. And it was good enough, and people loved, like really funny, and people loved it, that like I believe a second season will definitely happen. We just got to wait and see. We honestly just have to wait and see what is going on with that. But thank you so much for watching the show, Kingsport Cal, and from your super chat to the universe's ears, bro, that happens. Kyle Wilson coming in with 2 super chats. Thank you so much. Wanda was done dirty in Multiverse of Madness. I would love her redemption in Secret Wars. I've heard the Russo teaser photo says Wanda instead of Endgame like the last one. Hey, I hope so. I can't wait to see what that looks like personally. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And we will definitely see, because Wanda is one of my favorite characters. I think Elizabeth Olsen plays her incredibly well. And Kyle Wilson comes in again saying, just because I'm in my 40s, I'm tired of getting ED ads on YouTube. I don't need them. The algorithm is annoying. Winston, what ads do you hate the most? I keep getting a lot of these use AI to get a better insurance claim when you crash your car. First of all, don't fucking put that in the universe for me. Fuck you, YouTube. Stop putting in the world that I'm going to crash my motherfucking car. Second of all, I don't fuck with AI either. I am swearing a lot right now. How much shit don't get demonetized. That drives me crazy. Absolutely insane. And I get those a lot. But that would be the 2 that really bother me one way or the other. Shout out to James Lavario, see what's up, low win, all that kind of stuff. And Scott Welsh, everybody who's in here, Kingsport Cal, Abernathy Raw, Fred Tastic, 314, Jeremiah Wise, MK Songbird, KP Dang, Corey Mack. Thank you so much, everybody that was in here tonight. If this is your first time here, once again, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, throw a thumbs up on the video. Is this going to pop up or nah? There it is. It popped up real slow on me. Be sure to do all of that stuff. I greatly appreciate it. It helps out the channel. We finally hit 5,000. Thank you so much, everybody. Check it out. Now that you can do collaborations on YouTube, I have linked the reactions I'm doing with Christian, starting right now with Demon Slayer. Those are linked here. Check those out. Please keep watching those if you haven't already, because the more you do that, the more that we will be able to continue to do those. And then come on back to all the other stuff I got going on. On Tuesdays, tomorrow on the John Roca channel, we've got Spill the Tequila. Go and check that out. On Wednesdays, we have Blerds in the Hood, me and Mr. J. Washington. The show is back Wednesday evenings, 6 p.m. Pacific. Spill the Tequila is 4 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. Fridays, Capes and Cows, myself, Christian, and Chris Carr. And again, like I mentioned, those Demon Slayer reactions, which will eventually, when we get through all of Demon Slayer, right now we're just doing the first season unless the numbers come up. But once we get through Demon Slayer, we'll go back to doing some movies and things like that. So you want to check all that out. But that is it. And yeah, let's do a 5K live stream. We'll figure that out. This week is kind of a crazy week, but in the next week or so, we'll definitely do that as a celebration, man. I think that would be a great idea. Well, Kingsport Cali, you got to catch us on the replay then, my brother. We greatly appreciate that. But with that, y'all, I'm going to get out of here. I got to get to the screening. I'm about to run late. So I love each and every one of you. I will see you on the flip, man. Spill the tequila tomorrow. Peace.